Hello, hi everyone. Welcome and good afternoon. Today we'll be covering off another one series of our webinars in the Digital Twin Discovery series. This time around, we'll be covering off industry factory simulations with Nishant Raj joining us for an overview of what his business does later on. If we could go through to the agenda, that'd be great. And very quickly, I'm Ola Storilella, Head of Innovation here at Digital Catapult and part of the Digital Twin Center team. Today, we'll cover off a little bit around what the center is and what we do, uh, in, in addition to the opportunities and activities that we have on offer to our ecosystem. Then, as mentioned, we'll cover off our guest speaker speaking to industry factory simulations. And then we'll have time at the end for a Q&A and closing remarks. So in the meantime, please do pop in questions into the Q&A box. We'll be addressing those towards the end of the session. So very quickly, what we do here at the UK Digital Twin Centre is very much around making digital twins more accessible and meaningful in the UK by actively enabling industries and innovators to safely embrace, explore, and realize their dynamic power. It's very much around removing barriers to innovation and adoption within this space. It's about providing that reusable expertise, the methods, and the platforms to make it happen, and to also demonstrate the effective use of such technologies within industries and challenges, as well as making it very much of a safe and interoperable environment as well. So, digital twin technologies, the way we like to look at it is that intersection of digital technologies working together. We focus across these six different sections on how they work together to create dynamic, intelligent, and trustworthy models of these real-world systems we're looking to analyze. So we have these six areas, the first being cyber-physical asset management. So looking at sensors, connecting devices, edge computing, sensor networks, and real-time monitoring. We also focus on data services. So that's looking at data platforms and databases, data processing, predictive analytics, and interoperability. So very much exploring data sets and interoperability between those different systems. We look at intelligence, and that represents where AI, machine learning, and autonomous decision making very much comes into play. So looking at responsive and adaptive digital twins, as well as UX and visualization. So it's great to have a very powerful twin, but you need a way to interact with it as well. So this is where that UX and visualization very much comes into play through simulation interfaces, having those immersive environments and dashboards for people to interact with the information being assessed. We then explore security and trustworthiness as our fifth digital twin technology. So that's looking at systems for sharing data and automating decisions, very much around cyber resilience, data integrity, and having those secure architectures to make it enable kind of the confidence to work within the space. And our final technology is very much around integration and interoperability, very much the glue that holds it all together. So looking at APIs, middleware, data pipelines, and connectors that allow those different systems to work together seamlessly. Next slide, please. So throughout this digital twin center journey and the work that we do here is very much around removing those barriers to innovation and adoption, as mentioned. We want to have ways for people to come into the center to work with us through the open access that we have here in our Northern Ireland Center with our permanent experts team. We have an approach in terms of core research for platform as a service, as well as assets to support that. We're exploring flagship use cases as well, so definitely stay in touch with us to find out more about those, as well as dissemination and diffusion to industry through a 4 million flexible fund, which is how we support SMEs within the industry to grow their technology capability and business awareness. So throughout the last year, we've had over 200 SMEs actively engage with our work here at the center. So as part of that, we have multiple different ways of interaction within the ecosystem. The first I'll speak to a little bit later, but just to mention the number, we have a digital twin readiness assessment, and we've had over 90 SMEs complete that to understand how they can engage with digital twins as part of their journey. We've had our first accelerator program open call launch, where we had over 30 applications uh, to get up to a total of 1 million funding. Each pairing is receiving up to 100K. So we're looking forward to sharing more of the success stories from there throughout this year. And we've been hosting these webinar series for the last year as well, where we've had multiple attendees join our sessions live and then also access these webinars following on YouTube as part of the recording service that we have. So we're looking to host more in the next year. We'd love to have your engagement throughout that. And we'll also be looking to launch our partner program in December. So as mentioned, we've been hosting these webinar series throughout the year. This is our final one of that installment before the holidays. We've had a great coverage of multiple different areas. So first being defense industry, looking at digital twins in aerospace, looking at the practical application of digital twins in maritime, looking at, exploring readiness for UK businesses. And our previous one was very much around product tracking efficiency. And with each, we've had guest speakers join. We've had our technical experts come and speak to their knowledge and provide information as part of the Q&As. So really a great breadth of knowledge is within these recordings. You can access them on our website and on our YouTube, and very much recommend you to do so. The recording of this session will be available afterwards as well. So really quickly as well, we've been hosting networking shows, next networking road shows for SMEs to connect within the industry. In May, we hosted a session in Belfast, and in July, we've hosted a session in London. In the new year, we'll be looking to host more regional events to provide more SME networking sessions as well. And as mentioned, we've had a very successful engagement and interest in our first accelerator program, where we had over 30 applications for us. As you can imagine, it was a tough selection to select 9 teams to join the program. So this will be launching next week. You'll be seeing more information about the successful companies who will be exploring their proof of concepts and being able to access the UK Digital Twin Centre equipment and technologies as part of their growing and support. So to begin, if we just go back a little bit. So to begin, the kickoff will be next week, and you'll see information about this on our comms on our websites coming soon. And as part of that, we'll be looking to develop and work with these startups across an assessment phase, prototyping and experimentation phase, leading into a testing and scaling phase with a final showcase around May and June time. So if this is something of interest and you want to follow the journey of the companies that we're supporting, please stay tuned for the success stories and the case studies that we'll be launching. And we'd love to see you at the showcase at the wrap up of this program as well. So in terms of the journeys that we're supporting as as part of the accelerators, as part of the readiness assessments, as part of these webinars, it's very much around looking to develop out this journey in terms of digital twin use cases. So the first being Demystify is very much around these webinars, masterclasses, and events that we're hosting. We have as well the demonstrate layer, which is very much around developing the use cases, and that's very much where our accelerators sit as part of that layer. And also we have deploy, which is around supporting the deployment of digital twins into live environments for more mature companies. And very much at the heart of all of this is our belief in partnerships and ecosystem collaboration. So, as you've seen and throughout these sessions, we're very much looking to actively connect SMEs, tech vendors, and industry leaders to work together to encourage that knowledge sharing and identify new commercial opportunities as well. In terms of the readiness assessment, we're looking at providing businesses a way to assess how to identify where they are in their digital twin journey. So the tool itself provides an assessment through a series of questions to identify the current position with digital twin adoption within your business, and then provides a report with recommendations and suggested supports that can be provided through the UK Digital Twin Centre. So before moving to the next slide, I'll give it a second to allow you to scan the QR code and begin your readiness assessment. Wonderful. If we can move on. Perfect. So through the demonstrate pillar, as mentioned, we're offering support to companies through our accelerator programs. Uh, as mentioned, we are launching our industry accelerator, our adoption accelerator next week. But coming up, we have an opportunity for our academic accelerator, very much focused on research and development. So this will be an academic accelerator focused for UK registered academics and research tech organizations. It's very much there and designed to engage academia in solving complex industry challenges. The challenges have been identified um, by our industry advisory panel, which includes leading tier one companies in aerospace, maritime, and defense. So we're launching this opportunity in the coming weeks, and we're inviting, as mentioned, the UK registered academic institutions and research technology organizations to apply for funding by submitting project proposals. So very much this is an opportunity to apply cutting edge research to real world problems to identify that tangible industry relevance. Throughout the process, the team will be offering office hours through the duration of the open call to provide support. And then from February, we'll be looking to conduct assessment of the applications and proposals submitted, with selection being through to March and onboarding onto the program and kickoff being from May. And to give a little bit more flavor to what the challenges are that we're looking to address through this academic accelerator, through consultation and market analysis, two challenges have been selected as our primary research areas. The first being on digital twin operations, so very much looking to explore DevOps and DevSecOps when applied to cyber physical systems and addressing the challenge of continuous verification of data and models. And then the second challenge is looking at security and trustworthiness for digital twins. So looking at how cyber-physical systems amplify the need for security and the kind of challenges that come up within this space around demanding new trust models. So these two challenges very much we're looking to address through long-term foundation, looking to build standards, frameworks, and innovative approaches to shape these practices and these methodologies across these two areas. Next slide, please. As mentioned, we are very much looking at how to build out those partnerships and collaborations here at the Digital Twin Center. So as part of this offering, we will be having a digital twin community and dedicated space for companies and industries to interact with us, with each other as part of this. So we will be providing this space for collaborative networking, for networking to take place, and through this community approach, we'll also be sharing relevant resources and updates for everyone to make use of. We'll also be having a directory of participants and partners interested in exploring the potential of digital twin technologies across industries to support that commercialization aspect. So if you're interested in joining, please register your interest on our website and do reach out to us as part of this initiative. And I believe that is all from me. So I'll pass it on now to Nishant, founder of Connective AI, to share more about digital twin for industry factory simulations.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. So, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Nishant Raj, founder of Connective AI, which is an Arden Reed brand. I've been in manufacturing for longer than I was intending to be. But one of the key things that I've seen as a part of that and being involved on the ground floor of manufacturing is um, technology is enabling SMEs to be able to deliver a lot more than they previously could. But adoption of technology is always, a key struggle. And digital twins, specifically, because it seems like something that a large company could adopt. But what does it mean for SMEs? So we've been working over the last couple of years with SMEs, research hubs on the technology which I saw firsthand in terms of what a manufacturing SME would require. And the key towards that was how do we reduce the barrier to create low-cost digital twins that can be used as operational digital twins. So what you can see on my screen is an example from a SME based out of Liverpool. And these digital twins are very simply based, we go and scan in the facility of the customer and go and create a customized version of their factory with their actual machines, the shop floor layouts, everything. So you can see a true view of your factory. You can click and drop down on any segment of this and see that part of the factory. This also includes the certain level of simulations within the factory and the shop floor. All of this we did the first level of walkthrough within less than a week of actually scanning that facility. Now that's quite key in terms of how quickly we can actually convert this. But the key aspect of this is any of these CAD models and stuff that you see, nothing was actually given to us by the SME. We were able to take a 360 view, 360 recording of the facility, and then be able to generate the resources. So what level of detail you go into, it depends on the use case, but adoption of this is something that we know that's enabling SMEs today, because once you start to see your factory in this virtual world, you can start to have a helicopter view of what your factory is doing, what the different sections are, and start to understand uh, which parts of the system are you actually able to collect data on already, what data integrations could you already do, and where are the gaps that you do need that. So it can be used for firstly, creating simple walkthroughs and starting to give that information. This is also a metaverse environment, which means more than one person can actually join in this, and it can be deployed on a browser, so you don't need to be having a high-powered PC in there. Now, what that goes back move to is like, apart from creating a nice walkthrough, which is great for marketing, what can you actually as SME really do with that? So some of the use cases that we have created is firstly having process inductions. So both for employees or for staff training, including we've had done some for big press machines because you would have a physical SOP normally for a machine in your facility, and you can convert that into a gamified training mode in here. Because once you have a representation, a virtual representation of your factory and your machines, you can start to engage your team better, but also give them a safer virtual environment where they can actually try to train themselves while they still have to do the work and the final sign-off training on the physical device. They can actually train themselves on the virtual element, including SOPs and the practices around that. The system can help you monitor, when you go into test mode, what steps have you done on the problem? Did you do them in the right order? How long did it take? So you can actually get competency profiles created from that. And you can have it as detailed as you would like. And this is a very simple example of a company which does discrete manufacturing. And you can again try to utilize this also for knowledge transfer elements, because one of the things that we do hear from a lot of our clients is how do we reskill and upskill other team members into new processes. And in manufacturing, that's a sort of a big issue as well. Now, the areas where we have seen the adoption happen at an SME level on this has been firstly on the training aspects. But what we start to see very quickly happen is for the digital twins to be utilized for operational purposes. And that is quite critical because you can start to integrate existing software that you already have in your site. You can start to connect your ERP data into the system. And when you start to integrate all these different data sources into one place, um, you are no longer barred by just having a big OE board, which normal manufacturing productions are used to have. You can rather have a screen with live data feeds coming through and a visualization, both a 2D level view and a drop-down view that you can actually see from your monitor in your office, but also have virtual screens around the factory, and can do analysis and have AI be able to highlight bottleneck analysis and forecast based on the jobs that are coming in. So the system is already compatible by connecting existing sensors, existing data sources, existing ERP systems, everything built modular and an API format so that everything talks to each other. And the whole purpose of this for us is to create a low-cost digital twin, not just for the purpose of it's a nice thing to have and it sits in a corner of a factory, but what can people in the factory actually utilize on a day-to-day basis. And when we did this analysis with one of our customers, where this example is from, they calculated that based on what they are able to achieve this, they can have a daily saving of 400 pound at least. Apart from what all the other productivity elements and visibility elements that they get from the system. So from a tech layer perspective, this is built on a game engine, which again helps us to scale this technology quite a lot, because there's a whole lot of investment that has gone into the gaming industry, and we're seeing a lot more adoption of this technology happening within our own sector right now. And our starting point for towards this and for any SME that we work with is how do we get you to get a blueprint of your factory? Because once you see that and once your team sees that, they start to actually understand what is possible and they start to come up with more ideas. And we've seen that happen with a lot of the other companies. In the example here, there are different softwares that we've connected, including a supply chain software, which is one of our brands, a vision intelligence software, which looks at defect monitoring, and an ERP system connection as well. The other key aspect that then comes from here is what happens, right? And how often would you have to change the design of it, right? And how scalable is that element? Because in a small SME, you could be moving parts, you could be moving location depending on if you're doing project by project work as well. So one of the other key elements that gets done as a part of that, which is quite relevant, is the virtual factory builder, which connects into the core platform to be able to actually lay out and build. And then once we've already created the first build for you from the scan, you can also go and change locations of the system, be able to add more machines, move, create a workflow, bottleneck and workflow analysis from there, all in a much simpler way, rather than having to depend on highly technical system to be able to do that. And that giving that ease of access and speed is a key element in terms of how we like to work with, and what we try to provide for SMEs that we're working with. And it's critical because SMEs do not have the luxury of having a lot of resources that you can go and train up on these new technologies. So it needs to become part of the process, not just something that they have to spend a lot of the time configuring. So we've seen a good level of adoption with this technology and how it can actually enable SMEs and not just larger OEMs. And by having that virtual connected factory, it's quite essential to be your first step even towards digitization. And the reason I say that, and I've had this discussion with a few SMEs, is everybody starts to think, okay, where do I start to connect sensors? Where do I start to connect data? Unless you can start to visualize the factory and what it's doing in its different parts, and what data sources and things you already have, you don't even know what information you actually need. So you can pretty much start to create this virtual blueprint, uh, have a top level views, look at what data sources you need to calculate your OE, your OTIFs, your efficiencies, when your machines needs repair, all of those things, and start to understand where that gap is, and then be able to start to drive digitization strategies for different sections of your factory, what data adaptation needs to happen as well. So it's quite important for us to go from that level view, and that's something that you can have in this 2D level view as well, where you can actually click on different machines and see an overview of what jobs are coming through on it. Is this machine running fine? What the analytics on this is. And again, everything to actually operationalize what digital twin as a technology can happen. Um, as you have seen, what the art of the possible across these are. Um, it goes back to our key aspect of why should an SME really have to think about this. And SMEs more than ever now need to leverage these technologies to be able to do rapid changeovers, to be able to do reskilling, and to have a better understanding of their processes and what efficiencies can be driven. And one of our core motivators to enable this at a low cost for SMEs, where this is all deployed on a browser, so you don't need to have a big IT infrastructure. It's all managed and run as a SaaS platform. Meant that it becomes a day one utilization for SMEs. And when we start to enable SMEs with technology like this, which previously you would require, softwares like Process Simulate or Dassault System, and others, where you can create, one process, but it's not really linking into your live data. It doesn't represent your factory, and you can't really use it for long. What we've also seen a big level of adoption in industry right now is when it comes to spray painting, welding. You can actually connect simulators that we have in this environment as well, and be able to again have specific elements of training that are built in around the topic of how you're progressing on that, how many times you've done that process virtually. You can do the test mode and see what your scores are, which has a huge impact in terms of not just seeing that people are trained or not trained in industry, but actually looking at, do people actually have competency in this. And my own learning in industry was that every time you do in manufacturing and classroom training of 10 to 20 people, but when you actually need a machine fixing, a robot being programmed or do something, there are only two people ever that you always go to. And the other people have been trained and just signed off that they're trained, but never actually go and utilize that skill. And that's, I think, sort of again a key barrier, that even if you're not getting, if those issues are not happening in the physical world, you can actually come and try that out in this virtual world and make sure your competency levels are still at a very high level. And that is critical to maintain the skill levels in industry, have knowledge transfer happening, but overall have this virtual blueprint factory, which then with connected with AI can not only give you insights of what's happened historically. It can tell you, what's happened, what the current status is now, and what, based on the current status and how things are running, how will it impact going forward. And with the technology available now, utilizing that is become a lot more easier. The implementation timescales are less than a month for something like this, and we have deployed and delivered that across multiple clients. And the starting point of that is less than 10K to actually get that. So we're not talking about huge investments even to actually achieve that. But because it all looks too detailed and glossy, SMEs are do fear the fact that it might cost a lot, it will take too much time. Going Given the experiences that a lot of us might know, industry is not really known for big technology adoption, and we hear a lot of horror stories with ERP implementation as such. But we have now tech coming out which is a lot more scalable and can be implemented to start driving value a lot sooner. So that's all from me. I'm Nishant Raj, founder of Connective AI. I'll pass you on to Hassan for the Q&A, and any questions for me.
Thank you so much, Nishant. Hey guys, I'm Hassan Mukhtar. I'm the Innovation Manager at Digital Catapult. Nishant, again, thank you very much for such a detailed presentation. It's interesting to see. Obviously, we see production floors and manufacturing floors. There's so much going on, and it's so complex. And out of that, I think my first question arises as well. Like, since there's so much going on, how do
Yeah,
you design industry factory simulators?
yeah,
uh, while navigating the real-time challenges that they're also facing,
yeah,
and how do you address them
yeah.
as well?
So I think firstly, from top level management, there needs to be a strategy buy-in, right? That this is something that they do want to do, and we've seen SMEs actually start to come to us with that request. The other thing is a lot, the first key aspect for us was make it easily accessible,
Mm.
both from a use perspective, but also from creation perspective. So when we go and create this custom design, well, go and scan their factory with a 360 camera, we don't even need a 3D laser scanner. Once you create their first level of virtual environment, uh, you already start to give them ideas in terms of what is possible, right? And what I showed from the factory builder element, you start to get what you can further optimize and design and redeploy on there. So making that entire process means that you've got 80 to 90% ongoing accuracy of your layout and the factories, because remember, these are big machines, you're not moving them out those so many times, right? That already solves a problem, right? In the first instance, what we are seeing upcoming, and one of the research elements that we are working very heavily on, is how do we actually keep this element updated, the entire environment for the SME is in real time. And one of this, from a technology perspective, the easiest approach towards that is a lot of these SMEs also already have cameras in the facility in there. Now, object detection is no longer a big problem, versus what it used to be with AI, which means that we are able to utilize those cameras and camera feeds for object detection and mapping those objects into the virtual environment. So you actually have to create a link. Once you do that, you can actually get similar to any other sensor. You can actually mimic the change of locations of material being moved, and to a very deep level, where you actually have sensors where people are actually wearing cards and things, like you can actually map that as well. But to a base level, you can already utilize AI to manage and keep a very up-to-date layout of the facility being there. And I think that's a combination of this, is that this becomes a platform which is then more to start to connect other pieces of existing technology, including sensors, IoT, cameras, to start to give you a virtual factory that is, giving you real-time data. And I think that's been our approach at the moment, on how, with the one key goal, how do we make it usable from day one for the people, not just a simulation that they occasionally run.
And as you mentioned, I think SMEs do fear that it seems expensive, and that's why
Yeah.
don't even venture into it. But those who venture into it,
Yeah.
what are some of the common pitfalls that you would say they should avoid or they can come across, and what are some of the practical steps that they can take to avoid these issues from the
Yeah.
beginning?
I think the main one being is, setting the right expectations for themselves in terms of phasing it out, right? You don't go all in. I'm gonna digitize everything and have everything connected and coming through. Uh, you create a phased, planned approach. And as I said during my presentation, is this acts as a very good overview in terms of, you create this firstly the virtual representation of the factory as is, take the top level view on that, and then start to actually drill down on what information do I need and what action do I need to drive for which part of the factory, and phase it that way. So you're not trying to do too much at one time. And again, the technology part is always easier. How do you get the people on the shop floor, the people in the office to actually adopt that? So again, getting them involved from the start, that is quite key, because otherwise it just becomes another tool that just is there. And what we saw was when we started to do that with this SME, when they brought in some of their shop floor workers, they're like, oh, if we can see that, we means we don't have to spend 10 hours trying to search for parts that we produce today, right? That's like a day in day out thing, that those are the kinds of things so they start to come up with ideas, and then you start to prioritize which aspects do you start to solve with this, because again, technologies become simpler, right? So and industrial tech, unfortunately, there are these incumbents who have been running and charging for what, 10, 20 years now, which are very difficult to upskill in. The cost of deployment is massive, and they're non-flexible currently. So with any of these technologies, what it means that you don't need another piece of software. You can create a Python script to actually do some of the analysis linked into that, which you can hire in a new graduate or a student to do that. So again, the whole approach in terms of a tech side has become a lot more feasible, but it does come top down from a strategy. If the top level leadership and management have certain goals and we know certain criterias, uh, and they drive that, and then they involve the bottom up approach of adoption, that's when we see the success happen. If there's a disconnect between that, then we do see that these projects becomes a nice showcase but never really adopted.
Interesting. And for and I think this question is for both of you,
Yeah.
and Ola probably can address it more from the perception perspective, and Nishant from technical. But the definition of digital twin is often, misconstrued or taken very complex. It's a complex system, whether, cyber physical system, two systems talking to each other. But if we have to especially simplify it for SMEs, um, how would we do that? And what are some of the things? Since I think we've talked to a lot of, you must have talked to a lot of SMEs while deploying that, and I think Ola and team have talked to a lot of businesses while designing these programs. What are some of the things that make a basic digital twin?
I'll let Ola answer that.
Thanks. Yeah, I think we speak to a lot of businesses who say, "Oh, I'm interested in digital twins," or large corporations who say, "We want a digital twin." And really, it comes down to understanding what do you have, what do you need to do with it, what is the actual value and the impact of having this interconnected system. And, it will look different in different environments. It's not a kind of one size fits all approach. I spoke to the six different technologies on how they interrelate together, and that builds out the digital twin capabilities altogether. But it's very much around those different technologies speaking to each other, having that interoperable approach and the processes around it that builds out a digital twin, which is, looking to visualize, understand real world information in a virtual environment and then action it. What that actually looks like, on site in situ, like that's going to be different for each person that we speak to. And I think that's kind of where it's actually really interesting, because it is that engagement of these different technologies all together.
And Nishant, from a purely technology
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, so I think, just adding to what Ola said as well, it is, digital twin. is not just one definition, and also it's not just one level. I mean, we defined it across 5 levels. Your first could be you literally just do a 360 scan of your factory and just have a walkthrough like a Google Street Map, and you have pointers in terms of what things are, and that is for some companies that's good enough. But it is, you then start to actually, start to connect, have the data and sensor connectivity across your facility. And then you start to go in terms of, the simulation levels, and then the AI on the prediction levels, and again, then overall connected factory, which is smart enough to start to give you notifications on what's happening, what could happen based on how things are running. And not everybody needs to be at a level 5. Some people can get an ROI at level 1, level 2 themselves. And I think that's critical. And so, as Ola said, it's very important for businesses to identify what is the initial ROI they're looking for. What's the purpose of this? Is it a tick box exercise, or is there something that they're after? Now, sitting on the outside, we see the for most SMEs, because none of them have a actual, a virtual blueprint of the facility. All they have is a CAD drawing of the facility. And if you're running a manufacturing environment, that's, I would say, is the baseline, because if you can actually visualize your facility, then you can start to get to the next steps to understand, okay, what am I missing? What decision making do I need to do? And use that as parameters to drive your adoption level. So that's how we see that. Is it they need, don't try to do everything and the full-blown AI thing. And it is beneficial, and I've seen use cases from other companies, including JCB, where they have applied that and had 10x, 20x return on the cost. Um, but again, not everybody needs to do that at the same time. They can figure out what is most important to them. But what is still important is get started on that journey, start looking at how that works. And I do feel that digital twin almost becomes as a baseline initiative before you start off any of the other data and other digital initiatives to happen.
And for someone who's new to digital twin, what do you mean by referring to sensors within the live setting? This is one question that has come out from one of our participants. And are we talking about cameras in terms of the live setting, in terms of sensor, or there are other types as well?
So it could be sensors on the machine. It could be cameras in the factory shop floor. It could be your ERP system data coming through. It could be any other software that you're using to run your factory, basically. So the data connectivity in any factory right now, you will have, even with SMEs, you have multiple systems, each machine from a different manufacturer, some giving you some, very different kind of data sets as well. So the key is, again, trying to understand from what machine, from what section of your factory, what do you actually need, and then being able to drive down. But I mean, right now, there's everything from energy sensors to uh, um, your emission sensors, your light sensors, and sensors, and then which can tell you, when your predictive maintenance are due. And again, there are low cost sensors as well, so you don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds to actually integrate sensors into your factory or the machines.
And since a lot of elements talking to each other, whether it's a machine, whether it's a sensor, whether it's some external data we are inputting in the system, there's a lot of data coming in and being processed. So in all of that, what do you think, like the importance of an efficient digital, like importance of data interoperability and data integration in an efficient digital twin environment? What's the importance of that?
I think it's critical from our perspective, because it's, that's a baseline, but SMEs struggle with that, right? Because they do not have large IT teams to be able to do that on their own. So that's something that we support them with in terms of, again, guiding, and actually have um, integration layer which starts to do that interoperability to actually then connect those data interfaces into the right machines and IDs so that it actually is applicable. And then it starts to also make sense to them a lot more, because you're seeing the right data on the right machine across multiple things, and then you can actually make decisions on that. Um, and that is generally again the one of the more parts which takes longer time to happen, and hence why it's important to actually look top down to see what data you already have on the machines, what can you pull out, and what can you not determine from the data you already have, which then drives to see what other sensors, what other data inputs, or what are the other systems you need to put in place to get that type of data to then make those decisions that are required.
And then since a lot of elements are talking and obviously
Yeah,
working in um, sectors which are where data is critical and in fact in some ways important and cannot go outside as well, like what's
yeah,
the how important is that uh, like layer of security within the digital twin system?
yeah.
Because obviously there's so much data, but that data is yours and it is important to the business itself, right?
Yeah.
That's your money basically. So how important is that to layer it up overall in the overall digital twin environment?
Um, so from my perspective, I'm sure Ola would have some more points on this as well, is um, cybersecurity is essential across any digital initiative, right? That's a baseline. Any system you are implementing, and we see this more and more often. It's a minimum requirement, and the base practices are there. Things like Cyber Essential Plus, other accreditations that you have to go and get, pen testing done on the software itself. Those are all critical elements of the basic checks that you can do. The other part of it is there's also a little bit more fear than generally needs to be with this, because some of your data doesn't mean anything to anybody else, right? Like it's absolutely useless. If I don't know your machine, or if I don't know your industry, it like literally doesn't mean anything, what those parameters are saying to me. But irrespective, the other part of is all of these are utilizing cloud hosting environments, which is same thing that your emails are run on. So you're already sharing a lot of data on cloud through those interfaces. So any of these technologies are also deployed on Azure or AWS environments. And if you are doing things with MOD and defense, then you could choose to do it in your private cloud environment as well. And you can draw out on those. Like not everything has to be super defense ready spec. So general industry doesn't need a defense level cybersecurity, but on the flip side, for defense clients and different project work, you might need to have that. So again, I think you need to speak into the network and partners, and I'm sure Digital Catapult and with your team they can come to you for help and advice on what are those minimum checklists and things that they should be doing for that. I'm not sure if Ola wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah, thank you. Just to build on what you said, it's absolutely critical in the same way that data interoperability is critical for it to work and for people to trust the results that are being provided and be able to analyze the information. A lot of the times, when we're going through projects, through processes to analyze readiness as part of this digital twin journey, it very much is a change management approach. So looking to understand actually, you can have the abilities in-house. You may build in these processes within your systems, but getting people to buy into it, getting people to build out new processes to engage with these systems is absolutely key as well. It's one thing to have the technology, but it's another part of having that business readiness as well. So it kind of goes in tandem, that kind of journey, that change management goes together with that technology development. So if a company says they want to have a digital twin, develop that out, use that information that it's being able to analyze, actually need to build in the processes within the business to be able to do that, to be able to engage with it, to be able to safeguard the information properly as well. So it goes kind of hand in hand and is complex but worthwhile of an activity to do to get it right.
And Ola, for the companies, SMEs, especially who want to approach the center for any sort of support, uh, I saw in the presentation, Accelerator just closed. There were companies selected. If the companies are approaching the center, what are the things? What are the kind of supports? One that Catapult is offering. I saw some of the things that you've already mentioned, but also what are the things that they need to share or focus on while interacting with the center so that there's more
Mhm.
opportunities, more value for them at the center.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as mentioned, we have a few different offerings within the center in terms of engagement, and it very much depends on where in the journey these companies are to working with us. So if, they're looking to explore really what digital twins are, what they mean for their business, where they can capture value, these kind of sessions are very much where they should be focusing on to understand that kind of initial journey. But if they're looking to already develop out technologies, then accelerators mentioned where we are already kicking off one, but we'll have new open calls in the new year to support that technology development journey. And throughout those, we'll be looking to provide, on one side, funding support to be able to support that within companies. We understand, I think Nishant, you mentioned this, SMEs are resource constrained, and this is very much a way for us to support that. In the same way, we provide business support in analyzing that kind of value creation as well as tech mentoring throughout. But outside of that accelerator journey, we are developing out offerings as part of Digital Twin as a service. So we'll have other smaller interventions where companies can come to us to the center to, provide support, to provide that analysis, and be able to build out their offerings as part of that as well.
Amazing. Thank you very much, both Nishant and Ola, for answering some of the questions. Um, Thank you for people who are attending in our audience for joining us. If you have any more questions or any more thoughts, I'll be sharing my email address in the chat as well. And yeah, this is the wrap for our this year's last webinar. We'll be back, in fact, next year with a new series of webinars as well and SME networking events. Keep a lookout on our LinkedIn pages for more details on these events. But for now, thank you very much, Nishant. Thank you once again for sharing your business. I loved how easy your solution makes it to realize the manufacturing space. And thanks, Ola, for sharing insights into the center. Um, that's it from us for today. Thank you very much. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Bye bye.